I dragged my tired body home, and heard the excited love sounds of men and women in the bedroom. I paused, but still accidentally caught a glimpse of the spring scene through the crack of the door. On the red wedding bed, Shinshingruan pressed the softly man and kissed passionately. I suppressed the anger in my heart and turned to the balcony. I didn't expect to come across the same scene again in my life, which was still shocking. After a long time, the love sound stopped. And then there was movement in the living room. Shinshingruan was surprised to find that I was at home, and Li Man, the little childhood sweetheart behind me, was busy buttoning. Shu Ran, when did you come back? A trace of guilt flashed in his eyes. I just came back from the hospital to take care of my mother and was preparing to collect clothes. Shinshingruan breathed a sigh of relief, then he pulled Li Man to explain to me, Shu Ran, Man's mother is critically ill and has only a few days left. Her greatest wish is to see me and Man get married, and I have to help her. She came here today to discuss this with me. How about this? Take good care of her in the next few days, and I will visit you after I finish the wedding. Listening to Shinshingruan saying the same words as in the previous life, I smiled helplessly. In the previous life, because of my pleading, Shinshingruan finally stayed with me, under the careful care of Shinshingruan and me. My mother, who originally had only 3 days left in the late stage of cancer, miraculously lived for more than a month, and Shinshingruan's childhood sweetheart, Li Man's mother, died in just 1 week. Because of this incident, Li Man suffered from severe depression, and Shinshingruan often used this incident to ridicule me. When I was over 50 years old, I had a heart attack and ruthlessly pulled out my oxygen mask. He whispered viciously in my ear, you owe Man this. If it's not enough in this life, pay it back in the next life. Recalling this sentence, I shuddered all over. I couldn't believe that this handsome man with delicate features in front of me would become my murderer in the future. Seeing my silence, Shinshingruan began to get impatient. Sun Shiran, can you not be so cold-blooded? You also have a mother. Can you bear to see your mother leave with regret? I asked the doctor. Your mother just has a common cold. She will be fine in a few days. There is no need to be hospitalized in such a big way. I looked at Shinshingruan calmly. Only then did I realize that he was dressed very formally today. He was wearing the same suit he wore when he first met my mother, and now, he was going to wear the same clothes to meet another woman's parents. I used to treat him as the only one, but I didn't know that I was just one of the love stones in his palm. I smiled at him calmly and helped him straighten his clothes. It's okay, go quickly. You'll be scolded if you're late. At the same time, I said to Li Man behind him, give my regards to your mother and wish you a happy wedding. As if she was waiting for me to say this, Li Man actually smiled proudly, but Shinshingruan was a little flustered. It's not Shu Ran, listen to my explanation. Man and I are just acting, and there will be no relationship. You are the only person I want to marry. I waved my hand impatiently, but still smiled. Well, go ahead. Only after confirming that I was not angry did he turn around and leave. I couldn't stay in this house anymore, so I went back to the hospital. As soon as I opened the ward, I saw my mother's eyes full of tears. I panicked and rushed to the bedside. Mom, what's wrong with you? Are you feeling uncomfortable? Mom shook her head and wiped away her tears. Mom feels so uncomfortable when she thinks that you will be alone in the future. Mom, don't talk nonsense, you are in good health. Mom interrupted me. Of course, Mom has only one wish. You may not like it, but Mom still has to say it. Hearing this, my heart trembled violently. This is a line that has never appeared in the previous life. The next second, Mom said, although my marriage failed, I have always been the most accurate in judging people. Shinshingruan, this man can't give you happiness, since he can ignore you when your mother is in the most difficult time. He will also abandon you in the most difficult time in the future. After hearing what Mom said, the tears I had been holding back for a long time burst out instantly. It turns out that Mom knows everything. Mom, I promise you, in this life and the next life, I will never be with him. 3 days later, Mom closed her eyes forever in the picturesque sunset. During these 3 days, Shinshingruan did not contact me once. However, his moments were updated one after another. There were happy photos of meeting his parents, selfies of the two of us holding hands while shopping, and the scene of the proposal. The frequency of updates far exceeded the 3 years of my relationship with him. After I took care of my mother's funeral, I planned to go home and pack my luggage. As soon as I opened the door, I saw Shinshingruan and Li Man's family toasting to celebrate. When they saw me enter the house, everyone's eyes were focused on me. There were 2 banquet tables in the living room, which was neither big nor small. I don't know when the photo of Shinshingruan and me on the wall was replaced by Li Man and Shinshingruan's wedding photo. The 2 people in the photo frame looked at each other, full of love, but in just a few days, They also took wedding photos. Li Man's mother was the first to break the silence and looked at me with questioning eyes. Who are you? How do you have the key to Xingruan's house? I kept silent, waiting for Xingruan to explain. Sure enough, Xingruan immediately replied, "This is my cousin Shiran. She just came back from a business trip, right, Shiran?" I nodded, said, "You guys continue," and planned to go back to the room. Unexpectedly, Li Man's mother said something full of sarcasm. "I'm not saying anything, Xingruan. You and Man are married. This house is your and Man's wedding house. It's not appropriate to let your cousin continue to live there, right? Hurry up and make it clear to her and ask her to move out of your wedding house. You look like a grown-up, but you're still eating and living at your cousin's house. Aren't you ashamed?" Just when I was about to refute, Xingruan replied, "Don't worry, Mom. I'll talk to Shiran. It's only been a few days. And she's calling someone a mom." I looked back and saw Li Man's mother holding a glass of red wine and chatting while drinking, her face ruddy, her eyebrows full of smiles. She doesn't look like someone who is critically ill at all. However, I was too lazy to explore. Amidst the laughter, I called my dad, who was far away in Beijing. His assistant answered the phone and said that my dad was busy with a very important operation. I smiled bitterly. "Tell him for me that I have made up my mind and will return to Beijing next week to inherit his hospital." The other end of the phone was stunned for a few seconds, and finally a voice trembling with excitement came. "Okay, miss, the dean has been waiting for you to come back." After hanging up the phone, I went back to the bedroom to pack my luggage. As a result, as soon as the door was opened, the clothes thrown casually on the bed stung my eyes. That was the wedding dress that Xingruan picked for me personally. It is a relatively niche, but well-made brand, limited to 100 pieces nationwide. At the beginning, Xingruan stayed up all night to grab this wedding dress. He said that this wedding dress is very suitable for me, bold and low-key, elegant and sexy. Now, it is just spread out on the bed like a pile of garbage, and it can be seen that it has been worn by someone. While thinking, Xingruan pushed the door open with an embarrassed look on her face. "Shiran, Man doesn't have a wedding dress, and time is tight, so," before Xingruan finished speaking, Li Man's panicked voice rushed in. "I'm sorry, Sister Shiran. I took the initiative to borrow your wedding dress. This matter has nothing to do with Brother Xingruan. My mother is seriously ill. Her biggest wish before she died was that I could marry a good husband. But I'm too bad and no man can like me. There's really no other way." As she spoke, Li Man's eyes turned red and tears fell. While crying, she covered her heart with her hands to show the sparkling diamond ring on her finger. That was the engagement ring Xingruan gave me. Xingruan was so distressed when she saw this that she supported Li Man. Man, I don't allow you to say that about yourself. Who said you're bad? I just think you're the best girl in the world. Those men who look down on you are short-sighted. Whoever marries you will hold you in his hands and love you." After listening to Xingruan's coaxing, Li Man stopped crying. "Really, Brother Xingruan? Of course it's true. When has your brother Xingruan ever lied to you?" After getting a positive answer, Li Man raised her head slightly and looked at me proudly. Xingruan then noticed that I was still in the room, and his tone was completely free of the guilt just now. Instead, he declared to me as a matter of course, "Shiran, you also saw that Man's situation is special. Please understand. As for the wedding dress, I don't want the wedding dress and ring, since Sister Man likes them. I'll give them to you." After packing my luggage, I started to clean up the photo wall of Xingruan and me. He never liked taking pictures, so he rarely smiled in these group photos, and always had a stern face. At first I thought he was not used to taking pictures, but now it seems that he was just trying to make do. He was so happy when he took pictures with Li Man. Halfway through cleaning, Xingruan came in. Seeing the crumpled photos in the trash can, he panicked and rushed over. "Shiran, what are you doing? Didn't I say that I was just acting with Man?" I replied to him calmly and reasonably. "You haven't finished your show yet. My staying here will only arouse the suspicion of Li Man's mother. Let's clear these photos first. I'll find a hotel to stay for a few days." Seeing that I was decent and sensible, Xingruan's eyebrows flashed with a touch of emotion, mixed with uneasiness. "Shiran, do you really think so? You are really not angry with me?" I forced a bitter smile. At this time, what does it matter whether I am angry or not? In the last life, whenever I showed the slightest sign of jealousy, Xingruan would impatiently scold me for being unreasonable. He always said that childhood sweethearts are closer than ordinary friends. So I shouldn't be surprised. In this life, I really don't want to argue with him anymore. So I smiled and nodded. "Yeah, I'm really not angry." Xingruan was greatly relieved and suggested in a good mood, By the way, has your mother been discharged from the hospital? I'll go home with you after this matter is over. Hasn't your mother always wanted to try Michelin? Take her to eat next time. It would have been better if Shinshingruan didn't mention it. When she did, my heart instantly fell into an ice cellar. I said coldly, no need, my mother will never taste the delicacies of the world in this life. 2 days later is the wedding of Shinshingruan and Li Man, which will be held in the most luxurious hotel in Shenzhen. In the previous life, Shinshingruan and I also held our wedding in this hotel, but he had a cold face throughout the wedding, and when the MC asked him to give a speech, he complained bitterly that he was sorry for Li Man's dead mother. That wedding was boring, as cold as a funeral. In this life, the more people there are at a wedding, the more grand it is. They even booked a top-notch couples suite the day before the wedding. Shinshingruan repeatedly emphasized to me that this was just to reassure Li Man's mother, but when I was helping Li Man put on makeup in the suite, I saw a box of blue condoms on the bedside. The box had been opened, and I don't know if it was to make the show more dramatic. They even had sex. They were so dedicated that it would be unreasonable for the Oscars not to give them an award. The wedding lasted until almost 10 o'clock. At the end, there was a wedding night prank. The customs of wedding night pranks are different in each place, and according to the customs of Li Man's hometown, the groom holds the bride and passes through 3 levels and 6 generals under the set obstacles, and finally arrives at the bridal chamber. The crowd cheered and asked the bride and groom to kiss each other first. For some reason, Shinshingruan's eyes suddenly drifted to me. As one of the most ordinary audience members at the scene, I gave him a calm smile. Just then, the phone rang. I took it out and saw that it was my dad. The moment I picked up the phone, Li Man seized the opportunity and kissed Shinshingruan on the corner of her mouth. Then he lowered his head shyly. My dad's voice came from the other end of the phone. Ran, can you return to Beijing earlier? Dad is busy with work recently. I hope you can come back earlier. I have long been accustomed to the way of chatting without any greetings. My mother divorced my dad because she thought he was too ruthless and like a working machine. Even at the end of my mother's life, he was busy rescuing others. I sighed. Sometimes I think it's good to be like my dad, not trapped by love. I replied to my dad, okay. Then I ignored Shinshingruan, who was still playing at the wedding, and turned back to the hotel. After returning to the hotel, I immediately booked a flight for the next day. After tomorrow, I will have nothing to do with everything here. And I secretly swore in my heart that I would never come back to this place again. Unexpectedly, I was awakened by a rude knock on the door early the next morning. When the door opened, it was Shinshingruan, followed by Li Man. I frowned. But Shinshingruan said nothing and rushed in with a lot of bags. He seemed to be in a good mood and said to me attentively, Shuran, you should wash up quickly, and we will go to see Mom together. These gifts are specially prepared by Man. She feels bad and wants to apologize to your mom in person. I sneered at the gifts, thinking that my mom has been sleeping in the ground. At this point, I don't want to hide it anymore, so I confessed, Shinshingruan, my mom is gone, who knows? Li Man's eyes were red in an instant. Sister Shuran, I know you are angry about my wedding with Brother Xingruan, but you can't take it out on your mother. Brother Xingruan said your mother caught a cold and was hospitalized. How could such a minor illness kill someone? Don't talk nonsense. After hearing what Li Man said, Shinshingruan's face changed. Shuran, what do you mean? Man also meant well. Do you have to say such harsh words? I have said that Man and I are innocent. You saw the wedding. We were just acting. What else do you want? Listening to the two singing the same tune, I couldn't help but explode. Shinshingruan, are you still a human? I told you a long time ago that my mother is in the late stage of cancer, but you never listened to it once. And you were busy serving Li Man's mother. A dog man like you doesn't deserve to see my mother. Get out of here. As I said, I pushed him hard to rush out the door, but I never expected that the next second, Li Man's mother appeared at the door. She came in wearing the red cheongsam she wore at last night's wedding, dressed up gorgeously and smiling. She grabbed my hand and said, Cousin Xingruan, I know you've neglected your family affairs because your cousin is busy getting married. How about this? Now let's go back with you to see your mother, and buy some gifts to visit her. What do you think? Li Man's mother looked intellectual in general, making me look like the shrew who was fussy. I looked up at Shinshingruan, who looked guilty, and smiled. Okay, we all got into Shinshingruan's car. Shinshingruan pulled me and was about to signal me to be the co-pilot. Li Man's mother pulled me to sit in the back seat. Shinshingruan started the car, and I turned on my phone and silently sent him a location. Shinshingruan took only one look and said to me confidently, I can drive to your mother's address with my eyes closed. Are you still worried? I interrupted him. Look carefully at the location I sent. Shinshingruan showed a little impatience, but still took out his phone. However, after seeing the location, he became ashamed and angry. Sun Shiran, what do you mean? Let me drive to the cemetery. Do you curse your mother so much just to make me angry? I was too lazy to argue with him and insisted that he drive according to the location. He smiled sarcastically, but just when I led him to my mother's tombstone, he widened his eyes in disbelief. And then he knelt down on the ground dejectedly. Shinshingruan looked at the photo on the tombstone in shock, full of confusion. Shiran, what's going on? Are you kidding? Didn't mom catch a cold? How? Looking at Shinshingruan's belated regret, I felt nothing in my heart, too lazy to explain. Just throw my mother's medical report in front of Shinshingruan. Shinshingruan, you can joke with anyone, but I will never joke with my mother. Let's break up. You don't deserve to see my mother. In front of my mother's tombstone, I said to Shinshingruan what I had been holding in my heart for a long time. I thought, Mom, look, I did it. It's not that difficult to break up. In this life, Shinshingruan and I will never be together again. Shinshingruan took the medical records and looked at them for a long time, and was silent for a long time. Impossible, absolutely impossible. He suddenly stood up excitedly and grabbed my shoulders tightly. His nails were about to dig into my flesh, pinching me so hard that it hurt. What he said was even more shocking. Is it because of my fake marriage with Man that you are angry and didn't take good care of your mother? Sun Shiran, how can you do this to your mother? If you are angry, just vent your anger on me. Why do you vent it on your mother? I pushed Shinshingruan away with all my strength. Are you crazy? That's my mother. No matter how angry I am, I will never get angry at her. It was you who left us alone when my mother was in the most difficult time and went to marry your childhood sweetheart. It seems that in your heart, I can never compare to your childhood sweetheart. After saying that, I ignored her and put the flowers prepared in advance next to my mother. Shinshingruan opened her mouth and wanted to say something, but she couldn't say a word. In fact, anyone with a discerning eye could see it. Li Man's mother was just pretending to be critically ill because she was anxious to urge Shinshingruan to marry her daughter. But she didn't know that my mother was the innocent one. Fortunately, before my mother died, I accompanied her and talked to her for a long time. She said that in addition to breaking up with Shinshingruan, her wish was for me to inherit my father's hospital. Although your father is a jerk, he is a very reliable person at work. Following him, your career will be greatly improved. After seeing my mother, I prepared to leave for the airport. I didn't want to have any more disputes with Shinshingruan and disturb my mother. Shinshingruan was about to speak when her cell phone suddenly rang. Li Man's sad cry came from the other end of the phone, extremely harsh. Brother Xingruan, my mother suddenly fainted for some reason. The signal here is so bad that I can't call the ambulance. Are you still visiting her mother with Sister Shuran? It's okay, you go ahead. I'm just too scared to call you. Hearing Li Man's words, Shinshingruan panicked instantly. Man, don't worry, I'm done here and will come to you now. After hanging up the phone, Shinshingruan said to me, Man's mother fainted. The situation is urgent. You should take a taxi back first. As for our business, we will talk later when I come back. I responded lightly, and when I looked up again, Shinshingruan had disappeared. I took the gifts sent by Shinshingruan and Li Man and threw them all into the trash can. Then I took out my phone and called a taxi to the airport. What about no signal and no ambulance call? It's all a lie. Only Shinshingruan, who is in love, would believe it. Whatever Li Man said, he chose to believe without hesitation. In this case, Shinshingruan, I will fulfill your wish. No one will interfere with your beautiful love in the future. After arriving at the airport, I deleted and blocked all of Shinshingruan's contact information, pulled out the phone card and cut it into pieces. After doing all this, I embarked on the journey back to Beijing. 3 hours later, the plane landed at Beijing airport. When I arrived at the exit, I saw a tall man with half-white hair but still full of majesty from a distance. The moment he saw me, the man's majestic look turned into kindness. Ran. Hearing my father's call, I burst into tears. Seeing my father again after 3 years, my heart was unexpectedly calm. Maybe because of what happened to my mother, I have become less optimistic about this world. In the last life, even if my mother lived for 1 more month, he was still absent. He arrived late at the funeral, and all he saw was the scene of my mother closing her eyes forever. Sometimes I wonder, has my father loved my mother for so many years? While thinking, my father's voice pulled me back to reality. It was exactly the same as in the last life. Ran, it's my fault that I didn't see your mother for the last time, but there are too many patients in the hospital, and I really can't leave. I waved my hand and made an understanding expression. Dad, stop talking. I know everything. Over the years, My dad couldn't give me anything. He worked hard to run this hospital just to leave it to me for inheritance. This is all he can do for a daughter, seeing that I expressed understanding. My dad didn't let it go this time, but revealed his heartache. Ran. Although work is important, Dad hopes you can understand that work is only a part of life. Hearing this unexpected word, I couldn't help but raise my eyebrows. I wondered why this old man suddenly changed his attitude. Unexpectedly, the next second he took out his mobile phone and made a call, saying something to the other end. 5 minutes later, a polite and restrained knock on the door sounded. My dad said, "Come in." And then a man wearing gold-rimmed glasses and a big white coat pushed the door in. The moment I saw the man's face, I was slightly stunned. This is Pei Xian, whom I met several times when I was a child. Pei Xian worshipped my dad as his teacher very early and followed him to study medicine. In my impression, he is like my dad, always with a stern face, and he talks about medical theory all the time. I didn't expect that the serious little brother has grown into a tall and handsome big brother now. Ran, this is my proud student who I have brought up since childhood. If you have any questions about your work in the future, you can ask him to help you. Just as I was about to speak, my dad leaned close to my ear and whispered, "Pei Xian is a good guy, Dad will help you here. Seize the opportunity yourself." I smiled bitterly, thinking that I had just come out of a failed relationship and now I have no time to care about love. I smiled lightly and nodded to Pei Xian, which was considered a greeting. Pei Xian was not as serious as he was when he was a child, but smiled like a breeze. "Long time no see, Shiran. As early as when I was in Shenzhen, I was the attending physician of the Department of Gynecology of Shenzhen First Hospital. This time I returned to the larger Beijing city to inherit the city's large hospital, and it was inevitable that there was pressure. Fortunately, my dad and Pei Xian were by my side. And the people in the hospital were all real elites. Usually, everyone performed their duties, was busy with work, and rarely gossiped. However, everyone was curious about Pei Xian, a single young man with both good looks and talent. It was a pity that this handsome Pei usually had a cold face, making it difficult for people to get close to him. Although Pei Xian and I usually had more contact due to work reasons, but the topic was limited to work, and sometimes my dad was anxious when he saw it. He repeatedly pulled me to do ideological education and asked me to get in touch with Pei Xian more. I was a little speechless. "Dad, I just want to do business now. Can you stop making trouble for me?" But my dad looked like he was disappointed in me. "That's why your mother divorced me back then? And I will never let you repeat my mistakes." Pei Xian, who was knocking on the door and was about to come in, accidentally heard what my dad said. And his indifferent expression actually revealed a hint of smile. In fact, Pei Xian had sent me messages privately during this period. Without exception, they all asked if we had time to have a meal or drink together. I rejected them all mercilessly. I knew that this was probably what my father meant. How could a cold and abstinent person like Pei Xian be interested in love? Just like me, the days went on so slowly, and my work gradually got on track. Just when I was about to completely eliminate Shen Xingruan from my mind, he suddenly appeared. I don't know how Shen Xingruan found this place. At that time, I was having a meeting with the directors of various departments in the hospital. The door of the conference room was suddenly pushed open. Shen Xingruan saw me sitting in the middle at a glance, and his face showed joy. "Shu Ran, I finally found you." I had no choice but to hold my forehead, and stood up and wanted to tell him to go out first. But he was overwhelmed by the joy of reunion, and just ran towards me. The people in the meeting looked at each other, curious about who this person who suddenly broken was. I pushed him impatiently, just wanting to kick him out immediately. Who knew Shen Xingruan grabbed my hand, took out a wedding ring box, and wanted to put the ring on my hand. It was the one that Riemann had worn before. "Shu Ran, why did you leave without saying goodbye? Do you know how hard I have been looking for you these days?" I went to the hospital to check the situation. It was indeed my fault at that time. I shouldn't have left you and your mother alone. Shu Ran, I got the ring back. Can we start over? Marry me. Facing Shen Xingruan's chattering, I was not moved at all. Instead, there was only disgust. I pushed him away with disgust and looked at him like a stranger. "Someone come, get this troublemaker out." The security guards at the door heard it and rushed to our side. Shen Xingruan saw that I refused to forgive, and knelt down in front of me with a thump. People passing by were shocked and couldn't help but stop. "Shu Ran, what do you want me to do to forgive me? I have explained the situation to Li Man. I will not marry her, no matter how her mother forces me." "Shu Ran, if you don't believe me, I can look through the chat history for you." As he said that, he took out his mobile phone and started to look through WeChat. The security guard came over and pulled him up from the ground. Shen Xingruan was angry, and he threw a fist and knocked the security guard to the ground in a few strokes. Seeing that I still refused to compromise, Shen Xingruan tried to grab me by brute force and wanted to drag me out of here. Just then, a hand reached out from the middle and slapped Shen Xingruan's hand away. I stumbled and leaned to the side, falling into a solid and strong embrace. Looking up, I saw Pei Xian's face. He didn't change his expression, but held my shoulders and patted me gently, meaning to comfort me. Who are you? You openly disrupted the order of the hospital and prevented our dean from holding a meeting. I will call the police to take you away immediately. Seeing the man hugging my shoulders intimately, Shen Xingruan's face showed anger. What does my conversation with my girlfriend have to do with you? Get out of here, Shen Xingruan. We have broken up. Please don't harass me again. The next second, I felt dizzy. My body was quickly turned in another direction. Pei Xian kicked Shen Xingruan away. He then hugged me in his arms and leaned over to kiss me on the forehead. Everyone present, including myself, was stunned. I never expected that the cold and abstinent Pei Xian would do such a thing. After a moment, he finally let me go, and an angry voice came from above my head. Shu Ran is my girlfriend. If you have anything to say, you can tell me first. I heard that you are her ex. You openly made a scene in the hospital and harassed her. You are not qualified as an ex, are you? Maybe he had never experienced such a shameful thing before. Shen Xingruan quickly got bored and fled. Before leaving, he still stuffed the ring into my arms, and whispered in my ear, Shu Ran, as long as I don't say break up, we can't break up. I threw the ring away and ordered Shen Xingruan not to step into our hospital. I didn't expect that Shen Xingruan was even more paranoid than I imagined. Not long after, I received a message from him. It was a photo. The moment I clicked on the photo, I almost fainted. Shen Xingruan actually went to the cemetery to move my mother's ashes. Shen Xingruan, what on earth do you want to do? Shen Xingruan replied immediately, Shu Ran, as long as you agree to meet me, let's have a good chat. I promise I won't do anything. The location was set at his house. I asked for leave from the hospital and bought a plane ticket to fly back to Shenzhen overnight. At the same time, I made a decision in my heart to bring my mother's ashes back to Beijing. Although my mother has always disliked Beijing, I believe that she can understand my approach. I didn't tell anyone about this matter and plan to solve it myself. Shen Xingruan did not move and still lived in that house. Originally, it was our wedding house. What I didn't expect was that when I returned to that place, everything was still the same. The red wedding bed was not changed, and there was a photo of Shen Xingruan and me hanging on the wall. But seeing these, I no longer felt anything. Maybe this is what it means to not love someone. Shen Xingruan cooked a full table of dishes and asked me to sit down and eat. I had no appetite, so I went straight to the point. Shen Xingruan, please return my mother's ashes to me. Shen Xingruan picked up some food for me slowly, as if nothing had happened. Shu Ran, you don't even eat with me now. How can I talk to you properly? I gritted my teeth and had to pick up the chopsticks silently. I don't know what Shen Xingruan did to steal my mother's ashes from the cemetery. I looked around the house, looking for a place where he might have hidden the ashes. Shen Xingruan saw my intention. Shu Ran, as long as you promise not to break up, I will return your mother's ashes to you. I almost laughed out of anger. Shen Xingruan, are you so threatening? Do you think we can go back to the way we were before? From the day I came back from the hospital and saw you and Li Man fooling around on the marriage bed, we were completely finished. Shen Xingruan was stunned. So you know everything. I snorted coldly, but Shen Xingruan soon confessed. Shu Ran, it was an accident. I admit that I was wrong. I won't do it again. Forgive me. Okay, no, men who cheat only do so many times. I lost my patience and started looking for the ashes everywhere. Shen Xingruan panicked when she saw this and hurried over to stop me. The bottles and jars in the house fell to the ground. While searching, I saw a familiar jar under the sofa. On the jar, the pattern on the jar was obviously the one that contained my mother's ashes. I turned the jar over excitedly. Shen Xingruan reached out to grab it. I was not as strong as him, but facing my mother's things, the violent factor in my body was aroused. I yelled at Shen Xingruan and pushed him hard with the jar. Shen Xingruan didn't stand firmly and fell to the dining table behind him, with the sound of crackling. The bowls and plates broke all over the floor. The soup splashed in every corner, making a mess. I was about to run to the door with the urn. As soon as the door opened, Shen Xingruan rushed over from behind. I was thrown to the ground, and the jar in my arms couldn't bear the pressure and burst into a loud shattering sound. I looked at the ground in horror, but I found that the jar was not filled with ashes at all, but soil. I immediately realized that I had been deceived. But where are my mother's ashes? As soon as I got off the plane, I went to the cemetery. I found that the ashes inside had been swapped, and the staff were still investigating. The surveillance happened to be broken, and no tricks could be found. It was obvious that Shin Xingruan had done something. I couldn't help but shudder. This man was more dangerous than I thought. After my last life, I should have been on guard. Shin Xingruan, give me my mother's ashes quickly. Otherwise, I will call the police. Shin Xingruan smiled carelessly. Sun Shiran, is this your attitude of begging people? I advise you to live a good life with me, otherwise you will never see your mother again. Looking at this despicable and bad man, I couldn't help but shed tears. I wondered how I fell in love with this man in the first place. From gentleness, thoughtfulness, and sunshine at the beginning, to extreme, arrogant and rude in the end. I took out my mobile phone expressionlessly and dialed 110. Shin Xingruan rushed over to stop me with sharp eyes, under the careful care of Shin Xingruan and me, my mother, who was originally in the late stage of cancer and had only 3 days left, miraculously lived for more than a month. Yu Cheng. At this time, several policemen rushed up and separated us. Shin Xingruan was handcuffed by the police. I was surprised. How come the police came when I hadn't called the police yet? Just as I was wondering, I saw Pei Xian's figure. When I went to the police station, I knew it was Pei Xian who called the police. It turned out that he secretly followed me because he was worried about me, because he had met Shin Xingruan. After knowing that I went to see him, Pei Xian was afraid that he would do something to me again, so he silently escorted me. Sure enough, hearing the crackling sound coming from upstairs, Pei Xian realized the danger and immediately called the police. With Shin Xingruan's confession, the police finally helped me find my mother's ashes. It was hidden in a small forest not far from the cemetery, lost and found. I hugged my mother's ashes tightly and cried. It was decided to transfer it back to Beijing that day, after the dust settled. Shin Xingruan was sentenced to 3 years for stealing ashes. Later, I heard that Li Man's mother was so angry about Shin Xingruan's deception that she became depressed and died soon after. Li Man hated Shin Xingruan for this reason. When he learned that he was in prison, he felt that he deserved it. After Shin Xingruan was imprisoned, I naturally did not visit him. I don't want to have anything to do with him in this life. However, because of this incident, my relationship with Pei Xian became a little subtle. Colleagues in the hospital are also discussing privately whether we are together. After going through so much, I have also seen it through. It is better to welcome and experience it generously than to avoid and reject it blindly. It is a good thing to get together, but if it doesn't work out, we can still be friends. So I send a message to Pei Xian. Are you free after get off work in the evening? How about having dinner together?